Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello all, welcome to week 3 lecture 4. Topic of this one is inclusive transportation. Now when I introduced this subject of inclusive planning and universal design, then I had mentioned that the design principles or the philosophy is applicable to every aspect of life. I mean not only the built spaces, but also it is applicable to transportation system, it is applicable to websites, it is applicable to products. So today we are going to discuss about inclusive transportation system. Universal accessibility for urban roads and streets will be the first topic which will be covered, followed by the general design guidelines for bus rapid transit or the BRT. So what are the barriers to public transport? Why do people are sometimes, particularly people with vulnerability, are scared of availing public transport? So if we want to make the public transport system accessible or safe or inclusive, which we have always been saying these 3 words, that safe, accessible and inclusive, then we have to understand that what are the different categories of barriers, particularly to the transportation system. So there are certain spatial barriers which include the distance which are to be covered. I mean if it is too much of a distance or involving a long travel time, then people are more reluctant to use public transport system. Or if maybe the nearest stop or the nearest place from where you can access the public transport is too far from someone's house, that they have to travel a lot to access that public transport system, then also that might be a deterrent. We now talk about this endpoint connectivity, last mile connectivity. So what does that mean? That means it has to be accessible till the from the origin to the destination. Sometimes people might be trying to avoid mode changes, like if you have a door to door connectivity, say you just get out of your home, board a bus somehow and get down and reach your destination by single mode of transport, then probably someone will be less afraid. I mean, but I am talking of vulnerable person, will be less afraid to use that rather than a situation where there might be multiple mode changes. So we are trying to understand the bottlenecks, that longer route, longer travel time, too many changes. So these are points of concern. These are where people get stuck, because say an elderly person might get confused and bewildered if there are too many mode changes. Okay, next will be the physical problems. Now the physical problems like the vehicle design, it needs to be suitable for someone with maybe physical vulnerability or sensory vulnerability, like we have these low floor buses or somewhere tactile signage, all this thing. So these are the physical barriers, physical restrictions. Next there might be some temporal problems. Now what are the temporal problems? Non availability of transport system in certain hours, frequency is a problem. That means reliability sometimes is an issue. So also maybe too much of waiting time, scheduling. So these are certain temporal barriers. There may be certain mismatch between the time when a service is desired and when the service is available. Next you have the financial barriers, that is the affordability part. the travel cost may be too high, maybe those modes of public transport which are relatively safer and considered to be safer and more accessible are not very affordable. So, that is a financial barrier. There might be some environmental barrier that it might not be comfortable. The waiting area might not be comfortable. There might not be adequate street lighting. There might not be leading to safety and security related issues. There might be a dark patch when you get down from one transport system and move to another one. So, these are certain environmental barriers which are related to the quality of facilities. Next, the information. Now, when we travel from one place to another place, is not only the problem start when we board a vehicle, but actually the problem might start before that, like when we start planning for it, when we start getting information, say when we book a ticket for the train, or when we want to know that the frequency of bus or the bus routes. So, if that information is not accessible, then also that leads to problem. Or when say someone is waiting in a bus stop for a bus, needs to know that which are the buses which will be coming there, whether he or she is standing on the right place or not to board the right bus. So, these are certain problems related to the information. So, to summarize, components of accessible public transport are getting to the service by self, by walking or by wheelchair, getting to the service by car, that means someone should be able to park the car and easily transfer to the stop, waiting for the service, that means the bus stop or the shelter where whatever it is or the train station needs to be accessible. Then being on board, be it a bus or train, that what are the facilities available there, whether the vehicle, so there is a vehicle design part and the station or stoppage design part. So, both need to be accessible. And also while being on board, what are the services extended there, like how would a person with sensory impairment, how would a person with vision disability know that when the stop is approaching, or if there is an announcement that next station is this, the door opens on the left, how would a person with who cannot hear be aware. So, there has to be, that's again going back to the universal design principles, that information dissemination of information should be in different forms. So, these are the components of accessible public transport. Now, let us take a deep dive into the specific areas. So, this is a comprehensive approach. There are three critical parts of a journey. When we talk about accessibility, there should be seamless accessibility. So, there is a point of origin and a point of destination. So, there should be seamless uninterrupted accessibility from the point of origin to the design, from the home to office, home to healthcare, or whatever, from that is one place to another place. So, the connecting the route to the transit terminal, that is when you move from the origin or destination both way to the public transport, and then the public transport part. So, the three components, there are three critical parts of a journey, and one by one we will be looking into all these, that what are the accessibility requirements for each of these. So, these are the very common scene that we see, common problems in transportation. When there is an overcrowded bus, when you are waiting on a wheelchair, someone is waiting on a wheelchair and cannot board the bus, level differences between the footboard and the road, when it is too high, and the inaccessible bus stops where there is no seating place, where there is no proper lighting, forget braille signage and the other things. So, very common scene in any of our Indian cities. Things are changing definitely, but situation like this still exist. And now, why do we need before we talk about that what we need, I mean why do we need universal accessibility transit? Uh, if you remember what we discussed, the benefit, individual benefit and community benefit. So, if someone can avail public transport, that reduces the cost of living, because definitely it's cheaper, that reduces the I mean that increase or rather that increases the his or her potential to participate in different activities including employment. So, that again goes to a community benefit. So, basically these are the reason why we need universal accessibility. Also, from environmental point of view, we talk about, I mean we know that this transportation, I mean this the pollution which is created by by traffic is quite high, and if we have these public transport system, so that means there will be less automobile dependency, that is dependency on individual cars. So, this less car dependent lifestyle will definitely have a positive impact on the environmental scenario as well. So, this supports energy and fuel savings. So, these are the overall benefit. Now, how do we achieve this? So, there are multiple stakeholders again. So, and we need to involve all of them. So, now these stakeholders would involve the service providers, this would involve the planners, this would involve the drivers and the helpers of the transportation system, the bus drivers, the conductors, the helpers, the auto drivers, everyone. So, not only the planning is important, but also awareness generation is important. And what is important is we have talked about the auditing, accessibility audits and walkability audits. So, these are also important. Then only we can have a holistic framework. So, now let us take one by one. So, first that is the non-motorized transport. Now, when we talk about the non-motorized transport, I mean definitely, so it means that we are talking about a significantly smaller route. So, mainly it may be the, I mean how I mean the portion of the travel chain when you go start from the origin to the public transport or from the public transport to the to your destination. So, that is how. So, that means it is either by walking or by cycles or by the wheelchairs. So, if we talk about the inclusive cycle tracks and non-motorized transport, now we again coming back to the environmental aspect. So, the cycles, tricycles, cycle rickshaws, push carts, and these are all these human powered modes. And in many of our cities, these tricycles, these special cycles for people with disability, the cycle rickshaws, I mean which is very quite popular with the elderly to keep with their pace, the push carts in maybe tier 2 and the tier 3 cities where these are used as a last mile connectivity. So, all these human powered modes, when now their safety is also important. So, whenever we have a segregated maybe lane for these non motorized vehicles, physical separation is desirable, at least notional separation. Physical separation is very important because for safety concern. And other, so what we can see here, that is a well defined cycle track for non motorized vehicles, properly separated with dividers or bollards from the vehicular road is essential for an inclusive non-motorized transportation, I mean the proper integration of non-motorized categories of vehicles. Then I mean other than that, you can have these what are included here, like the shaded routes for walkers. For comfort point of view, we were talking about the barriers, so environmental barriers. So, why people are reluctant to walk? Why do we always take our car even for to a 1 kilometer or 1.5 kilometer journey? Because maybe the walking is not comfortable. So, the shaded routes. So, everything matters. Everything make the city inclusive. Frequent cycle stations within walking distance. where someone can change the cycle. Active street frontage, that is essential for safety reason. I mean the concept of what Jane Jacob told, eye on the street, that is when there is a continuous passive surveillance of the streets from the properties around, there will be definitely less chances of or less instances of criminal activities. So that automatically induces safety of the street. Provision of the street furniture, because there is a limited walkability or walking capacity or walking ability or the stamina of people with vulnerability. An elderly person would be encouraged to walk if he or she knows that after a certain distance there is a place where he or she can take some rest. Adequate lighting for safety of and the low vision users, because I mean we have discussed this, that there are different categories of disability in vision. Not all are who are totally insensitive to light, but there are many people who are sensitive to light. So this is a typical section of a cycle track, which are taken from the IRC. The sources are given. This also will be the reading materials will also be provided to you, where we see that a proper divided median tracks and a dedicated cycle lane and a vehicular road with proper on-street parking. So I mean, so everything well defined, and also there are frequent access points with ramps. Proper signage, good practices, a distinct material to show that which is a walking place and which is a cycling track. Now let us get into some motorized transit system. To start with, inclusive bus stop design. So in the bus stop, what do? We access the bus stop from the footpath or the road. Let us try to imagine that how we use it. Next, we need to access the vehicle. For that we require maybe some kind of a smooth transfer from the stop to the vehicle. So stage 1, a smooth transfer from the footpath or the road to the stop, and then stop to the vehicle, and between these two waiting time, if it is a long, then waiting for a long time in bus stop or terminal, and while you wait avail the information through different means, information on the which bus is to come, when is it to come, all this. And so this what are the solutions? So when you access the bus stop from the footpath or the roads, level access is required. Where level access is not there, access to a ramp. And also curb ramps are required when there is a small difference maybe. Accessing the vehicle, there is the concept of a boarding bay which is at the level of the bus. Seating place in the bus stop or the terminal, priority seats. Now if someone is there with a wheelchair, then a space of a square space of 1.2 meter by 1.2 meter for placing a wheelchair. Displaying information by different, so this is a part of the situation awareness. Buses that will stop in that particular stop, destination of each bus, time of arrival, frequency, and maybe a you are here map, so that you can orient yourself to the surrounding. So all this, I mean, I think the same thing what I discussed is being mentioned here. Additionally, there should be anti-skid matte finish tiles, because many of these are vulnerable to water. Getting wet from rain and all. So it needs to be safe from that point of view also. Choice of material, not glazed vitrified tiles and granite or polished Kota stone, because they can really be dangerous. Tactile guidance, shelter against sun and lighting. A very simple one, a very simple bus stop this can be. This is from Delhi. Basic, very small module, a basic access with a ramp. And as you can see, that it needs to be it has a standard symbol of international symbol of accessibility, which shows that this is a barrier free bus stop. Sorry, yeah. This is a prototype, I mean design prototype which we had developed at IIT once, and I wanted to share that with you. So, what are the components here? It is the proximity to the barrier free parking area, easy access from the parking area, from the barrier free parking with the help of the ramp to the bus stop. There are seating places. There is a 1.2 meter by 1.2 meter area which is reserved for the wheelchair, and this is the boarding bay number 7, from where from where the bus can be accessed. And this is the a marking where the bus should also know where to stop, so that it it can align itself to the boarding bay. So, this is the bus stop, and that this was a suggestion that there can be some of the bus stops can have a universally accessible toilet along with the water dispenser, and also information and proper information with the this information board. We have some views also, you will see. So, these were some of the components which were proposed, and this in this prototype. Something like this, that this is the ramp, this is the the signage system. This is also another very simple one, where you can, as you can see, that these are the boarding bays, and which are being marked by this directional and the hazardous tile, and the rest of the areas are being the railings are being put, so that there is there is no safety, I mean, or there is no dangerous situation. Yes, the infuse, as you can see, like it is very dedicated and clearly marked bus lane, that where the bus should stop, because you need to synchronize things. You are having a boarding platform somewhere, and the bus is stopping somewhere else, then it doesn't make sense. And also, you cannot expect the bus driver to see from while driving the bus, that where is your boarding platform. So, you have to mark a dedicated place on the on the road, from where you can access the it can be accessed. So, that is all, I think. Sheltered bus stop, seating area, so all these. Okay. Now, coming to the inclusive bus design. So, what are the design issues? Design issues are locating the right vehicle, which bus to board, boarding the bus. Just imagine yourself, I mean, getting into the bus, finding the seat, moving within the bus, because from the door to the seat, securing oneself during the journey while sitting or standing. That might be a big challenge for an elderly person with limited balancing ability, or even someone sitting on a wheelchair, I mean, needs to lock the wheelchair. Recognizing the stop to get down, that might really be a challenge with the person with sensory disability, and again deboarding or getting off the vehicle. So, these are the step by step problems that you face. Now, how to solve this? For locating the right vehicle, signage should ideally be there on all sides of the bus. It's just not on the in front of the bus. If you just have the number or the route displayed, that is definitely not that doesn't work always. So, the routes or numbers should preferably be on all sides of the bus, at least on the side from where people will be boarding and in the front. Route numbers, final destination, and also what works is intermediate landmarks, because you might not be, if you are new to a city, you might not be knowing what is the final destination. You have to research a lot to know that. But maybe at least if there are the intermediate landmarks are given, then you know that okay, which route the bus is following. Boarding, providing adequate space at the entry for easy maneuvering of the wheelchair. Finding the seat. Now, priority seats within the bus is a very old thing. I mean, it has been there since ages, but with time it has got modified, like with the priority seat, a space for wheelchair is also there, along with wheelchair anchoring facility. That is very important. There should be a grab bar there near at the wheelchair, so that say the bus applies a sudden brake, the person on the wheelchair should be able to hold something, or there should be some barrier to stop the wheel from rolling freely. Moving within the bus, There should be handrails and stanchions for support while moving, following the proper anthropometry. Yeah, securing wheelchair, this I said already. Recognizing the stop, announcement and visual display of the stop that it is approaching. Better to provide a route is displayed within the bus. Now, many of our modern buses and the metros, they are having this. So, just to get everything together, and of course, getting off the vehicle similar way. It can be an assisted exit and also call buttons for sending signal to the driver in case you have missed the stop. So, low floor entry. Now, also additionally a ramp, space for wheelchair, sliding doors, wider doors. I mean, these are becoming more and more common. High contrast handrails. Some earlier prototypes where, I mean, this kind of experiments were done, but in which there was a lever operated ramps. But what works most is a simple ramp like this, which is simply hinged, easiest to operate, doesn't go wrong. So, generally, I mean, the wheelchair, I mean, this kind of a transfer is possible if there is like from the boarding bays we are talking, if you have a low floor bus, easy transfer is possible. But problem with our system is that we are gradually, modifying our system. So, not all bus stops are barrier free, not all buses are low floor. So, when there is a mismatch, then you have to have innovations like this hinge opened, this ramp opening with the help of hinge and all. Also within the bus, I mean, this kind of the call buttons located at a significant interval for sending signal to the driver. Inclusive taxi and auto rickshaw stand. So, hinged ramp for like accessible taxis with hinged ramp and retractable steps for senior citizen. Accessible routes with guiding pavers, the proper illumination in the auto stands and all, because not all can afford to hire a accessible vehicle with hinge ramp. So, because we have to do something for every category of our people, for at every level. So, we cannot say that people who are with vulnerability will only be availing these. So, I mean, even the auto stands can be made as much as accessible as possible with some basic things like lighting, cleanliness, I mean, just giving level access to the platform. So, these are to the footpath. So, these are possible. So, not every solution needs to be very high tech. Inclusive parking, we discussed this while we were talking about this internal environment, but just to repeat that inclusive parkings are required and inclusive parking spaces are essential wherever we have this near this public transport system. Traffic signals on road for improved safety, reduction of congestion, audio digital display, audible signals. So, to summarize this, we need accessible infrastructure, accessible information system comprising real-time visual and audible travel information, access to transit terminals and stations, proper high contrast, large print signage and intuitive icons for non-readers. Simple thing, if we are in a place where we do not know the language, we are stuck. Low height ticket counters for wheelchair users and short statured person. If you remember that when we discussed that categories of disabilities, RPWD Act, so this dwarfism has been included there as a type of vulnerability. So, low height ticket counters for them as well, not only for wheelchair users. Mandatory tactile pavers. So, just the BRT, the bus rapid transit system. Now, this has got very elaborate, because this is something relatively newer. So, this has got very elaborate guidelines in terms of the placement of the lanes, the location of the stations, very precise docking and the level boarding platforms, ramps, handrails, and the provision of the modal transfer from one to another. So these are the IRC BRT, the manual is there, so which can be referred for this. It's not possible to discuss the entire manual, just some highlights I am going to show. So like this, dual ramps for step free access, this kind of a long docking bay, and with proper circulation spaces, this fare collection area. So everything at one single level. So these level docking bay will ensure any kind of a direct access without any gap. So what they are calling is a gap free bus boarding, like this. So this is the general situation where the bus and wherever there are the stations, so with proper shades and this, so there is a direct transfer. So this is how integrated. So these are, now BRTs, whenever they are being laid now, they are following these standards. So they have, rather they are following when proper standards right from the inception. But the challenge is when you are trying to make the existing system of the city buses and the the bus stops accessible. So there you have to go for this retrofitting solution. Maybe, I mean, these are not, I mean, not really a rocket science, just simply maybe raising the boarding bay, bay of within a bus stop can easily solve a lot of problem. But just you need to know that how to go for these very easy solutions. So inclusive waiting area with proper sitting facility. So these are all well planned with proper leaning bars, adequate circulation space, shading, lighting. We have some good practices. Low boarding platform, tactile paving. Just these will be shared with you. So I mean, this is just what the repetition of what we said. So the features are there just to have a visual idea. So here we conclude that universal design in BRTs ensures step-free access, priority seating and inclusive terminals, accessible, shaded and obstacle-free walkways and cycle tracks, so which benefits all. So it's an integrated accessible system which reduces car dependency and promotes sustainable mobility, and it aligns with the sustainable development goals. We have discussed these also, that what are the national and global vision towards this sustainability. So SDG 11, Sustainable Development Goal 11, which talks about building inclusive, safe and accessible cities for all, also I mean is being taken care of by these BRT. So these are the references which will be shared with you, that bus rapid transit design guidelines for Indian cities and this manual on universal accessibility for urban roads and streets. Thank you.